Pretend it's tomorrow. And pretend I'm President Delano Roosevelt as he stands before the Congress, these words. See if you can fill in the blanks. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date that will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. And then bombed us as we were talking to them and thought we had peaceful relations. They did this. By the way,
6 aircraft carriers with 400 planes sailing 200 miles north of Hawaii, undetected. Their plan to decimate America's Pacific fleet. Before this day, war planners and strategists acknowledged an attack like this was possible. But they'll never do it.
Yes. To say it could happen, almost anything can happen in war. Is the most unpredictable of all human activities.
Dr. Rob Citino is a senior historian at the World War II Museum.
by the way, it's very rare for me to ever share anything from a place like NBC, CBS. But I thought this was, good historical account of it. The only thing is, if you're like me and you're by insanity, you'll notice that people are indoors talking to each other with no mask, and you'll notice that people are outdoors in the nice fresh air wearing masks. Here's your own.
It has never been launched before, by which I mean this kind of attack, an attack by carrier aircraft.
And Pearl Harbor was a target-rich environment.
The Arizona, the Nevada, the West Virginia, the Oklahoma, and the California. 5 of our 8 battleships, totally 1 is a national. Pearl Harbor is somewhat to be connected with the rest of the country.
While U.S. forces had drilled for an attack, what happened that Sunday morning didn't seem real.
There were aircraft coming from every direction, and we really didn't know where they'd come from.
We are on Ford Island in Pearl Harbor with U.S. Navy historian Jim Newman.
When you talk to some of these veterans, when they saw those aircraft coming, and they saw they were actually dropping bombs, they said, wow, so many armies are going to get in big trouble. They're actually using live munitions.
Over loudspeakers throughout the island, the phrase was repeated, "This is not a drill."
As if you had to convince someone it was that. Because it is such a shock, such a bolt out of the blue.
Through the chaos, though, there were certain acts of courage undaunted. John Finn jumped out of a bed and manned a machine gun. Despite multiple wounds, including a busted leg and an incapacitated arm, he kept firing and firing, and won the Medal of Honor. Kenneth Taylor and George Welch had enjoyed a night of revelry. Stunned awake by explosions, they sped to their fighter planes and joined a fight in which they were hopelessly outnumbered. They knocked out 6 Japanese warplanes. Doris Miller worked in the mess halls and laundry in West Virginia. Blacks then were not allowed combat roles, but when the attack came, and with no training, Miller fired a .50 caliber gun at incoming Japanese planes until being ordered to abandon ship. He was awarded the Navy Cross. After just 90 minutes, the U.S. Navy's proudest warships sat smoldering and sinking. Hundreds of aircraft shredded.
That is the USS Arizona Memorial. You see turret 3 sticking up out of the water. There's still a lot of the ship that's visible, but just think
Anybody ever
about
been there?
what that represents. So 2,400 sailors, soldiers, Marines, civilians, airmen are killed in the attack. 1,177 of them are the USS Arizona alone. So you're talking about 49% of the casualties were killed in action, were killed on that ship.
More than 1 million people visit the Arizona Memorial every year. We visited too, in reverent silence. Time passes so quickly, it seems. History often feels so distant. Not here. Mitchell Washington family was there as well. Why?
Because to be able to serve is an honor, and it is not something that we should ever not recognize. To be able to serve our country.
And drags it into the war. You know, a couple days later, the Germans and Italians declared war on the United States. We could not have had a world war with the United States absent from the fight, and the United States would not have come into the fight, I'm convinced, in any dramatic way without this shock of war.
A date which will live in infamy.
So here on the eve of the
Questions, comments? So no one will say anything like, hey, you're later today, you're having dinner or something, and one of you said, hey, isn't that something how China bombed America on December 7th, 1941? You'll be quick to correct them, right? Right, it was, I'm just making sure, 'cause that's some crazy answer. I told you a story about the man I know in his mid-90s that lied, said he was 18, he was 16. Raced to the recruiter's office. Couldn't wait to fight for America. This is crazy. By the way, what's the nickname of that generation? You know how you have nicknames for generation, millennials? What's yours called? Z or something? Wait, you're X? I'm Z. Wait, I'm X? What am I? I'm on the cusp of baby boomers. What's after baby boomers? I don't pay attention to this stuff because, again, it's just the way we all divide each other. I don't get all that. I'm X? I think so. So this is called the greatest generation. People that would be your greatest generation. For what they endured, they had to endure the Great Depression, and right after that, World War II. And not long after the Korean War. They lived in infamy. By the way, Wilson said he wanted to make the world safe for. Wilson said he wanted to make the world safe for. And there are obviously people that don't.
Wait, where?
They're all confident.
Who has done that to you? You have done it that too.
Oh. You have.
What are you guys doing here? Is everything all right?
You like her?
You missed.
That's always.
No, he's not. Come on, Bella. I haven't seen you all day. I know. I saw you once in a while. How's it? I kind of like it. Hey. Wait, like, you're on TV?
Look, wait, Riley, come here. Let's reenact this. Somebody just like, excuse me. I mean, what is it? I mean, he should have, because he's a gentleman. He's a gentleman, and he's younger, so he should have said, excuse me. Hi, Meredith. Come on, you taking a good one?
Who's that? What did you say?
I was talking to Micah, but I said not.
Did you take my desk?
No.
Okay.
No, are you Miss Matt in here? No.
Hey, it's Dash.
Take Emily's.
Okay, the Grace don't go and diet and.
I can't wait till I'm in this class.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe I have to take notes on the video. Wait, what? Yeah, I'm gonna do it next year.
We watch it, I'd be like,
Oh, this one? Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Veto that idea.
Yeah. that night. White hair, what a pass.
Emily.
What, go to get any Wednesday? Oh, it's one week. I'm gonna do it next year.
I know, but it's like,
I don't do anything else. Or anything. And Max. Nothing. You're just saying your name. You were.
about talking